This is a fuel transfer tank. I'm going to use this as my supplemental fuel tank for my truck, since the fuel tank only holds 10 gallons, or only gives me 10 gallons. And that whole tank will be setting up on probably 2 rails that go across. Okay, so we got our 4 angle irons going up and down here and here, here and here, and they're all as level as they can be to each other. We'll do 5, 2, 3. I am just getting ready for Monday's job. I have a couple jobs lined up. Finally, it seems like things are kicking in full force. One of them I'm expecting to take 2 to 4 days, depending on how well it goes. Right now, I'm just about to check out my chainsaws, make sure everything's in working order. I have to double check what ropes I'm going to bring with me. I have to put plywood in the back of my truck. I have to make sure I have all the yard tools and hand tools that I need. If I don't prep some of the stuff on the day before, then that morning I tend to have a late start, and that's because something always happens. There's a chainsaw that wasn't sharp. There's a rake that's broken that needs to be replaced. I mean, if I put the broken rake in the truck now, I'll know, and then I'll get another rake on my way, versus showing up to the job site with a broken rake or something like that. So I'm basically doing pre-prep, and this stuff isn't magic. I mean, people always think you're making good money at it, you can have somebody else do this stuff, and that's true, but just to bear in mind that around here, if you want a worker, sometimes you got to hire somebody that's like 30 minutes away. So like the guy that's working with me a lot of the time now is almost an hour away from my property. So he's not going to come out here just to help me get ready for the next day. It's not really worth his while, versus like a cheap laborer or something. But cheap laborers are hard to get, and they're not reliable. So I have to think about who's going to be there tomorrow. I've been texting a second guy that's going to be working with us, and I've got to get him lined up. And now I have to make sure that basically all the gear that I'm supposed to remember is in this room in the morning, because I'm going to come out here, I'm going to be oblivious, I'll get up, I'll get ready, I'll have a bite to eat or some coffee, and get a couple things, personal items, jacket, hoodie, whatever, hat, and my key and my wallet, and then I'll come out here, and if it's not out here, I'll just leave it. Some of my stuff sometimes is inside the house, or it's in another truck or something like that's on the property. So I have to make sure I have implements for everyone. I have my collection of ropes. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to be needing this one, which is, oh geez, so heavy. It's 150 feet. These are my climbing boots, but I don't like to wear them for everything. So I got to put those in here. Truck and trailer. I've got to hook up the truck and chipper. I have to make sure that I have fuel in the Ford, which I do. I already did that, but I have to make sure of that. This machine's got to be operational, or there's no tree business, pretty much. I mean, there still is, but check my fuel. I filled that up. Got to have my cones, pusher. These things have to be all functional. I have to start my truck the night before, make sure it starts. There's always some crazy mechanical problem. Squirting diesel. I had diesel squirting out of this thing onto the exhaust the other day. So we're gonna check it out, see if we can get it to go. I fixed it the other day. I put some O-rings. There we go. There's the old IDI. That's before Ford was making the engine. That was an international engine. I just put this fuel tank on. That white box is my fuel tank. I had to put that on. That holds 37 gallons. And I'll be able to use it to fuel up my equipment later. There's a port right there I can put a pump on, run the pump off the battery. I'll be able to fuel up my Bobcat and everything with that right out of this tank, and then I could just drop a stick in there to see how much fuel is left. I gotta load up that Bobcat. I gotta be ready to dump off my waste on this property. So when I come in here with my wood chipper and my dump trailer, the dump trailer's gotta go up along this path all the way to the other side of the property and dump there. So I got a mountain of wood right now on that area because my wood splitter guys are behind and I'm having trouble getting good performance, and the guy that's quick I can't get every day. So, and then as far as wood chips go, they can go just about anywhere. I like to put them on areas where I'm going to spread, so this is all dirt right now. I like this area to have wood chips. So I came out here yesterday and I was playing around, but I was also working, and I pushed up all this honeysuckle here. So now I can dump a pile of wood chips right here and smooth that out. And that'll be a spot where I can park a trailer or something. See, it's easy because I can drive up through here and then I can just back up my trailer right here. See? There's an area here I was working on. That's the same deal. I can put a truck and trailer right here now. Okay? So I have to clear land on my property. This stuff doesn't happen all by itself. You know? I got trees I had to cut down. Doing tree service for free back here on my property. Look at that. That was a decent little tree that had to get moved. That's before I had my skid steer, and I had to move all that stuff by hand and throw it up in the truck. I got to make sure the mud's not too bad out here. If the mud's bad, I'll do a tree job and then I won't be able to dump. Everything out here has got to get inspected. It doesn't just happen all by itself. I have to know where everything's going to go. There's no pine coming back here. But if there was, it'd be going in this area. See, I got some pine trees in that pile right there. I didn't want to deal with them. Wood ain't worth much. It's a lot of trouble. It's hard to get out here to split. This will probably all go up in flames one day. I'll probably burn that whole pile. Unless somebody comes out and decides they want to start doing campfires with pine, and they come out every week. Sometimes guys do that. You know, I'm always checking for stuff like metal on the ground. That rake right there, not a problem for me, but I'm checking for metal out here. This stuff all goes on during the season. This is all me working for free, basically. That's why I get to charge a little bit more on the job sites. This work all goes into the business to make it happen. This path was all made by me. Look at this mountain of wood over here. Look at that. That all has to get split. Somebody's got to come out here and process that. That's from a friend of mine. He's got a tree service. I wasn't busy that day. He called me and said, "Do I want it?" So I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." Yeah, there's my splitter. One little slow log splitter. Somebody's got to come out here and pick up every one of these pieces, put them on there, and split them down to size. Yep. And then I got to try not to destroy my yard too much. I put a lot of work into protecting my yard. Finally, got some green grass over here. Trying to make it usable so I can get out here and use this firewood section by the road, make my business look good. You know, all that without driving on the lawn, if I can. Sometimes I have to drive on the lawn. I drove a lot right through this track, right here. I drove through here a lot last year, or during the winter time. It's a wonder it's not more destroyed than what it is. This is probably the worst of it, but the kids play out here, so, you know. I gotta hose off my tracks on my on my skid steer. I got to do that after the day, so I got to clean that thing off every time I mess it up. I got a pole saw here. I dropped my pole saw one day out of a tree, and I had to get a new bar. I mean, it just cranked the bar, you wouldn't believe. But if I had to replace this whole pole saw, I would have done that. That'd be $1,000 just to replace that pole saw. You know, this backpack blower, it's always in need of repair. Right now, it doesn't go from half choke to run. I have to switch it manually. But you know, I got hardware out here and stuff. I got to use all this to fix on things. I was just pulling out washers and stuff to mount that fuel tank on my truck. This grapple had to be serviced the other day. There was a problem. One of these, the grease zerk actually on that down there. The bottom hinge pin on that piston there, that I guess that's my tilt piston. Yeah, that's my tilt piston. And that grease zerk down there got damaged by a rock. Got caught in between the bucket when I was moving some dirt around, and I had to go work that, immediately had to work that grease zerk and make sure that went in. And fortunately it wasn't ruined altogether, but I had to raise this thing up and fiddle around with that for almost an hour, just trying to get things where it was usable. I have struggled to find workers, and when you're in tree service, you think any guy with a strong back can work with you, and if you're surrounded by good young men with strong morals and a desire to work hard and earn money, then good for you, and make the best of that, because around me, I mean, I offer a pretty decent pay for even guys that don't know anything, and I've just been disappointed by almost everyone that's worked with me. 40% of the guys that come work with me have some sort of debilitating habit that's destroying their life. 40% are too dumb to work, and it's unfortunate. I don't know, I guess guys think that this is a stupid walk here, go there, lift that, throw that job. But this job requires all those things, and also the ability of avoiding incidents and causing problems. It requires a person to follow basic instructions, and kids out of high school these days aren't really interested in sweating for a living. They don't see the need. The way they see it is everything in the world right now is being done for free, and all that has to be done is that money from that free work that's being done should be redistributed to them. And I don't know where people get that idea. I don't know how the public school manages to teach kids that, but I always dreamed I'd find a kid that was young, that was zealous like myself when I was young, that wanted to make good money and learn how to do things. And here is an opportunity rich with knowledge and money and all the things that make a person's life better. And yet young people just are not interested in it. And I had an ad out last year, and I got contacted by so many men over 50, you wouldn't believe it. There is a crisis of the trades going on right now in America because children are discouraged from working for a living. Working is honorable, and it's a place that a man truly feels his own. No one possesses you when it comes to your work. You are in ownership of yourself and of your work, and if you're in a workplace that doesn't act that way, then you shouldn't be there. But there are a lot of people that are self-employed that feel the same way I do about this, and you guys can comment below if you want to say something about that, because I definitely welcome your opinions. But I've tried pay structures of hourly, I've tried pay structure of by the job, and it depends on the guy Some guys can handle by the job pay, and some guys can't. They get too big for their britches when they make good money one day, and then they don't want to come out unless they're making a certain amount. They're not content. They don't understand how it works, and they don't see themselves as being a contractor. They basically see themselves as being a slave or a laborer, and that they're owned by me, and they're on a quest for freedom already the day that they start. And that's the wrong way to look at this. I mean, the best way to look at this is to say, this is a place where I want to be, this is how I want to spend my time. And maybe guys don't want to spend their time lifting heavy. Me, I want to spend my time providing for my family, and cutting down trees is a good way to do that. And I like being outdoors. I don't like, back-breaking labor all the time. Sometimes I'd rather end the day early. Sometimes I do end the day early, but there's so much grit and determination that goes into running a tree business. When my truck breaks down, I had fluid squirting out of one of the return lines on my old Ford, and that truck I got for a pretty good deal. It was only a couple $1,000s when I bought it, and I've dumped the price of that truck into that truck probably every 8 to 10 months since I've had it. I've had the transmission rebuilt, I had a dump bed put on it, I've had countless hours put into it, wasted at shops that were deceiving me into thinking that work was getting done. And I've done some work myself, but some of it is too heavy duty for me. When you're a tree guy, you're also a mechanic. I have tools, I have hand tools in my shop, I have hand tools in my trucks. And when stuff breaks, it's my job to fix it. I have a stick welder here, I have electrical tools for my wiring. I went for years without a dump on that truck, and you can't always pay for stuff like that. Taking on debt is a major decision related to being in tree business. If you want good things, you have to have debt. I mean, I don't care if you're starting out with $100,000, you can buy a truck for $35,000 that's beat up so bad, or it might be in decent condition, but a good truck, a new truck, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and that's chipper truck. So my truck was a couple thousand, and I keep pouring money into it, but it does the same job as the newer truck, and probably the problems are easier to solve because it's an old truck. So this is just the type of decision I have to make on a daily basis. Am I going to keep struggling with this? Am I not? And I've decided I'm going to keep struggling with that Ford. Alternative to that, I could have got a newer truck and not gotten myself the Bobcat. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted a machine that could help do the labor. And I think profits will go up because of it. So we'll get more jobs done in less time, even with the downtime on the Ford that we'll be having. I guess my recommendation to somebody that is starting a tree company or wants to have a tree company or wants to know is, start buying tools today to have a tree service tomorrow. If you're already handy and you have hand tools, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 3/8, 1/4, electrical, welder, welding mask, gloves, clamps, long electrical cords, drills, you're doing pretty good. If you have a trailer, you're doing pretty good. You need a trailer, you need a truck, just the minimum to start the tree business off. But what goes into it is countless hours behind the scenes, keeping things up to date, keeping things maintained. A lot of people don't see that. They see you on the job site and they resent your profits. They don't understand that when I go to a job that takes 8 hours to do, it takes me, between an hour to 2 hours worth of driving, depending on where the job is. And sometimes the job may be close, and that's true, but just remember there's also a quote trip. So it's between an hour and 2 hours of driving is a normal, reasonable amount of time to spend driving for a job. The price of fuel is going up. And then on top of the driving, then there's prep time and maintenance. And people think You buy a chainsaw and you do a tree business, and then you just withdraw all the time. You're making deposits, you're replacing that chainsaw, you're buying chains, you're sharpening chains in the shop. I mean, when I do a job where there's a lot of ground cutting, I have to sharpen chains. I'll sharpen a chain after every ground cutting job, because you don't know, I mean, you might have hit a dirt pocket in the side of the tree. Sometimes trees are full of dirt, and you cut it and then there's dirt, and you get another saw, you finish, or you change out the chain, and then you got to figure out what chain's sharp and what are you going to use on the next job, and get everything ready to go. You know, everything always has to be organized. You have to constantly worry about theft. It's just a perpetual threat. I mean, you got to lock the trucks. You got to keep the equipment near you. You can't leave stuff out in the front yard when you're in the backyard. It's you know, if you're not careful, especially if you have a small crew and there's not a lot of guys walking around, people love coming up and stealing stuff. It happens all the time. It's constantly, there's always some guy either on YouTube or on the news or on Facebook. Some guy stole, some guy broke in here, some guy broke in there, this guy came up, took the ladder, you know, or whatever, and I couldn't get down. And, you know, you just hear these stories, like guys that do roofing. All this stuff has been done. And you know, a good defense is just to be always on the lookout for thieves. Take the mind of the thief for a minute and think, like, what would be a good opportunity? Is this a good opportunity for a thief to come up and get my stuff? And the answer is yes. They're always looking. They're always on the roadways, in their cars and in their trucks, waiting for a chance to get over on someone. You know, the customer doesn't always appreciate the amount of time that you spend doing other things. Even the amount of time that you spend making less money when you first start out, that, you know, you make tremendously less money at the beginning, and you take great risks, and you have losses, and you struggle, and you have lower profits already, even if you were charging the right price or the correct market value for your services, because you want to get the jobs. You need more jobs, and you're trying to get every quote if you can. And that's how you start out. And then once you begin to get more jobs and you realize that I can't sustain these quality of jobs or improve at all without charging more, then you charge more. You're yet taken advantage of, and you realize that every so often someone will take advantage of you and not pay you. Then you either have to decide, am I going to be the guy that takes people to court and spends money and time that way, or am I just going to, you know, charge it in? So whenever you have someone that you question their character, or you wonder, you can take a deposit up front, and that way you know the deposit should be enough that you could still feel like you're okay, even if you didn't get paid the rest. The risk with a deposit is people are less likely to pay you the rest after the job is done. It's just sort of strange attribute of people doing business. When they give a deposit, they think of it more as it's a gesture of good faith at the beginning, and then at the end it's a confirmation of satisfaction. So when they give you that money at the beginning, you're committed to the job, and that's a risk on their part. I don't like doing that. But sometimes people insist, or they want to, and it's like, now I have the money, and so when the job is done, the reward is less. I like to get my reward at the end. It drives me to succeed. You just gotta always be keeping the business tuned up, and I've tuned up a lot over the last month on my business. I've gotten things fixed up, I've sharpened, I've gotten things repaired. When someone says, like, I'd like you to quote a job for me, it really does benefit you to have the equipment and everything with you if you can, because sometimes people want a job done that only takes 20 minutes, and if you don't do it then, you may not get it. Or if you do it then you increase your money for the day without having to take an extra trip out. And it's always nice to do another job that day without having to do a trip for a quote and then a second trip for the job and then a trip back. So that's a lot of fuel involved. So I always like to try to do quotes in my truck. And then the other thing is, you know, people, for some reason, even though I like driving my wife's van to save on gas, people sometimes ask, are you going to use this van to do the tree job? And I'm like, I don't really understand why a person would ask that question, except that maybe it's just the way I look. Like, I'm wearing work clothes and I'm driving a van. If I was wearing like dress clothes and driving a van, they might just think I'm the owner. But if I'm wearing work clothes and driving a van and I don't have a sticker on the side, for some reason they think that means that that's my business vehicle, and that's how I'm going to put the branches in there and drive away and take that to the dump site or whatever and do that 50 times. And I mean, look, I'm not above doing something like that if that's what I have to do to make money, but it's kind of a silly question, and people doubt you when they don't see something to back you up. It's kind of like that big guy, that big goon in the movies that stands up behind the boss, and so when the boss isn't happy, he clubs them or whatever and bashes their head in because he's the muscle. And people see that. People see like a nice big truck, a diesel truck or trailer, a wood chipper. Even if you have a couple workers around with you, it increases credibility. Those are some of the things that increase your credibility with prospective customers. Obviously, the best thing is for them to actually see you at work, and that's why it's a great idea to work on Saturday. Because when people are at home on Saturday, they see you work. Like you might go to a job on a weekday and have 5 or 10 people in the neighborhood see you, but on a Saturday when everybody's out in their yard already playing with their kids, they're thinking about their trees, they're talking about this stuff, they're figuring it out with the wife, and they're voicing their concerns together and everything and figuring things out, and there you are. How convenient. They don't have to call, they know you're local, and the neighbor thought you were good enough, and they can ask the neighbor how your experience was, and then if the neighbor likes you or something, then, or the guy that you're serving now, then they'll say, yeah, for sure, they've got a recommendation. Of course they're going to go with you. And a lot of times people think it's just convenient, it's cash and carry, it's a quick walk for the quote, so they don't have to wait a month for a quote. Lots of companies take a long time to give you a quote. They've got 30, 40 calls a day. And these companies have been in it for a while, but when you're getting that volume of calls, and your prices are high, you're pretty much filtering people out. You're not serving everyone, and I'm not at that point in my business, so I offer a fast turnaround. All my jobs as fast as I can, and that gives people a lot of happiness that their job is getting taken care of right away, and there's no confusion about when that's going to happen. I mean, I'm always very open. I tell them it'll be within a week to a week and a half, and then I call the day before, and they're open. Their schedule is open, and they fit to me. Because I'm the contractor and I'm only free when I'm free. When they want me to conform to their schedule, I do my best to help, but I don't stress over it. If I don't get the job because somebody has to do it on a certain Saturday of the month, I don't do it. But if I have to schedule, a couple weeks in advance, that's fine. I really hate those ones where they call and say, like, I want to do it on April 6th, and it's January, and you're like, why April 6th? You have the entire year, all the days of the year. You have every single day you're busy and you don't have money until April 6th. And it's like, okay, yeah, if your money comes, if you're getting some kind of big money that you're going to use for your tree work, then fine. You say, yeah, that's when I get my money and that's when I can pay you. But, I mean, it's just aggravating trying to have to deal with complicated scheduling issues with people that basically, a lot of times these people are not serious too. They schedule far out, and then they're not a serious customer, and you just have to filter people out like that. So I don't know what else to say about what goes into tree business, except for it's a grueling business. You have to be able to endure, you have to be able to fix things that are broken. Be your own mechanic, or you'll be at the mechanic, you'll be waiting for your stuff to get fixed 6 months out of the year. You won't have a business. So you got to fix your own stuff, and if you can buy new, congratulations on being rich and super wealthy, but most people can't do that. So I hope the video has been informative to you. I hope it includes a lot of the details that you're looking for. And if you're in the tree business, then good for you, because you've chosen a good field that needs to be served. There is a shortage of skilled workers in this field, and you can make good money at it if you persevere and you play your cards right. So wish you all the best of luck out there, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.